There he is. Hey.
By the way, it's been a minute. I'm gonna knock the dust off these boots with doing like an interview. This is nice. This is really nice.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. I love everything you're doing. I love everything you guys stand for, and just to have a conversation is beyond moving and heartfelt for me. So thank you guys.
Well, thank you so much. Mrs. Kelly is the brain behind this entire thing. So she has been following you, and she told me about you, and then I started looking at you, and I'm seeing some of the amazing things you're doing. So, Mr. Brandon Alexander, tell us about.
Oh man, I mean, in short, I'm an actor here in Los Angeles, and I love horses. I love the Western culture. My journey is like a lot of people that I've talked to, as far as, you know, where your start was and where you are now, right? God always has a plan. He always has a way. So it's about following his plan for your life, and within the yes of him, right? Within the yes of him, I believe there's lots that we can enjoy and be a part of it. And that's why I said you're catching me on a really, really amazing day, on a high. I'm on like out of this world.
That's awesome. Well, what's happening? What are some of those things that are giving you this high?
So it's a funny segue deal for me, and I'll try and make it really, really brief. When I was a kid, I just loved animals. I just loved dogs and cats and horses, and you name it, I love animals. Well, when I finally was in this space, I had 2 dogs, and these 2 dogs were everything to me, Bear and Austin. They've both passed away since, and then I have another dog. So I've been on this hunt for a second dog. And Denver is his name, is sitting right outside right now. And I rescued him today from the shelter. And all the fears and the nerves that go into rescuing a stray, especially a shepherd husky mix, they were running through my body, and I was like, okay, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Are they gonna get along? Is he gonna be good at home? He's been sleeping since he got here. It was like that moment of peace, that moment of you saved a life. He's 2 years old. He came from the street. He's 2 years old. Like, he looked at his bed, he looked at his bowl, he looked at me, and he laid down, and he's been asleep ever since. So yeah,
safe space.
Yes. So that's why I think I'm over the moon. But also, like, what our animals do for us, I think that's the thing that's underrated, is what they do for us from a healing aspect, right? Because I think the first time I really felt seen or understood was when I was around dogs as a boy, right? Their love didn't come transactionally. Their love was not like, if I give you this, you give me that. They were just happy to see you. They were happy to be around you. And love was that thing for me as a young man that I felt like, how do I understand love if everyone has got their own? I don't know how we are for language with the podcast, but we with PG-13, what are we doing?
In between the PG-13.
I'll say everyone's got their own stuff going on. And because everyone has their own stuff going on as a kid, you know, you can't really rely, especially how I grew up, you couldn't rely on someone to be that beacon. But for me, I would be around dogs. I'd be around, and I'd hang out with dogs, and I'd go for walks, and I'd do things, and I knew that love was there. And so even as an adult, my love for horses and my relationship with horses is about the trust, the love, and the partnership that is nonverbal, right? That's the thing for me that I believe is so pure about the relationship that we can have with these 1,500 pound animals. To trust them, and for them to trust us and say, I'm gonna come to this barn with you, I'm gonna go to this stall, I'm gonna go to this rodeo, I'm gonna do my job. That trust should never be taken for granted, ever.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations, and I'm happy for your new baby. I wanted to know, as you were talking about building the trust, especially with horses, when were you introduced to horses, and what was that moment like?
There's two ways to tell this story. I guess I'll give you the first one. When I was a kid, I just had an obsession, right? I had an obsession. I think they're running, and it was Westerns for me. Watching them run and watching them do things, I was like, man, if I could just get on the back of one of those, I could just be free. My stepdad at the time, my introduction, my first time being around a horse, was the worst experience I could have ever had in my life. My stepdad at the time takes me to this barn, and he knows I want to ride like a horse, like a stallion, like in my mind, you know, like just something beautiful and big, right? And he was kind of a-hole. I remember going to this stable, and I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 at the time. I remember seeing all the horses for the trail rides and stuff tied up on the rail. And I saw, you know, let's say 16-hand horses, and then the 15-hand horses. Then they had like the kids for the pony ride horses. And then we go around this corner, and this guy's standing there with what seems to be either a donkey or a mule, maybe. And I was like, that's not a horse. And he proceeds to kind of laugh and chuckle to himself. Mm. And he puts me on, and we go into this round pen where he could walk me around on the back of it. And I look over, and this is not a race thing, but it was effective to me. I look over to my right, and this kid's, I don't even know. I mean, I remember thinking to myself, this child has to be 3 or 4 years old. And he's on what I would seem to be a thoroughbred of some kind. At my age, it could have been just a really tall quarter horse. But this white child has his dad walking him around. He's on the back of that horse, and his mom supporting his back. And I was like, what the heck? Is this all I can have? Is this all I can be? Is this all I can do? I couldn't have that experience. And it pulled me away from horses in a way that was so debilitating that it was years before I was actually introduced to horses. Because that donkey, that mule, whatever it was, experience was so scarring, because he knew what my dream was, my expectation was, that I was like, you did this to crush it. You did this to make me not desire, dream, go after. Because the conversation always comes up, it's too expensive, it's too expensive, it's too expensive. And in the way that he operated, I think he was like, if I can just give him this bad experience, then he'll drop the whole thing. He'll go play football. He'll go play basketball. He'll go do something else. If I can just crush this dream, he'll go do something else. Because for years, my soul was always, if I saw horses off the side of the road, if I saw a horse in a magazine, it didn't matter. I was like, yo, I have to get to this. Why? Like, I have to get to this. I have to get to this. So I went on a trail ride when I was 22. It wasn't the best experience. It was my first trail ride at 22. Okay. But it was an introduction. And I want to say the real thing for me happened during the pandemic. When I was really introduced to horses, it was during the pandemic. My aunt passed away on my birthday, which is July 29th. And I was in Big Bear. And I was like, I'm messed up. We can't go nowhere. We can't see nobody. We can't touch nobody. They found her in an apartment alone because of COVID. And they think what she passed away from was COVID. So now I'm like, there's no answers. There's this big gap in my mind. And my dad called me literally as I'm like with my friends celebrating my birthday. And he's like, hey, B. And I'm like, yeah, say happy birthday, say happy birthday. And I was like, he's like, no, man, I'm not calling to say happy birthday. And I was like, well, what are you calling to say to me? If you're not calling to say happy birthday, what are you calling to tell me? Well, your aunt passed away. They found her in an apartment. And I was like,
I'm sorry.
So, so I made a vow. I was like, I'm going to do something for me. F all this noise, like F everything, like F all this noise. I'm going to do something for me, and I'm going to go find it and I'm going to do it and I'm going to commit to it because I know that life's too short. And I found a place in Burbank called LA Horse Rentals, and it changed my life because the horse I rode was named Smokey Joe, and I'm already in like an emotional upswing.
Yeah.
But I told the manager of the barn, I said, I'm going to buy this horse one day. And lo and behold, 6 months later, he became my first horse. So that was my real introduction to horses. And I went to that barn every day and I worked for free. I would help out with the trail guides. I'd help out with the stalls. I'd help out with things because I just said, I gotta get it. I gotta learn about the bits, and I gotta learn about the saddle, and I gotta learn about, why does that horse move this way, and why does that horse spook this way, and he won't leave the herd, and why won't he leave the herd? I wanted to learn all of that, but it wasn't on someone else's time. It was on my time. It was like, I'm saying yes to me. I don't care if you white and you do it, if you Mexican and you do it, if you look like me and you do it. I'm gonna do this for me. And that was like that's where everything took off. That's where everything took off.
Gotcha. Let's go back a little bit. When you talk about horses and you equated it to freedom, what is that?
What's interesting about my life, and if we're talking, are we talking in general, or are we talking about me personally?
Both.
Me personally, how I grew up was not conducive for a child to really feel free. I had responsibilities and I had things I had to do by the time I was in middle school, whether it was helping raise my brothers and sisters, because I'm one of 6. So whether it was helping raise my brothers and sisters, or whether it was cooking, my mom taught me how to cook when I was in 6th grade because she'd be at work late. So she'd leave out everything for me to cook, and then I'd come home from school and I'd cook, and dinner would be made. So there was moments of being a kid, please don't get me wrong, I did the stupid knucklehead stuff, but I think ultimately I had looked at people's lives and I was like, man, they seem free. We're concerned about how to make these groceries last. We're concerned about the electricity being cut off. We're concerned, and I'm a kid thinking about this stuff, so I never mentally felt free. So I would escape. I would find books, I'd find things, and I'd mentally escape. And I always thought to myself as a kid, if I could just get on the back of a horse, I could run away from all this.
Yeah.
I could just get away from things I had no control over. I'm a part of someone else's story. I didn't ask to be a part of this story. I didn't ask for my dad and my mom to have the relationship they had. But I would always kind of have this fantasy, and I draw it. I would have paper and I'd draw myself on a horse running fast. It'd be dirt, from the hooves. And I'll give you a funny caveat for this. After I get Smokey Joe, I'm experiencing that freedom that I'm talking about. Like, I'd run through those mountains on his back, and running's not always the key thing to do, but when I would run with him, I would feel that air, and I'd feel that wind, and I'd feel that freedom. And I would tell my grandma about it. And my grandma called him Big Smoke, because she, for some reason, Smokey Joe was just too much. But she called him Big Smoke. So, Brandy, you going to see Big Smoke today? You going to go see Big Smoke today? She wrote in her journal, she says, Brandon got his first horse. And that was it. It just said, Brandon got his first horse. And I had a dream in July. The July I got Smokey Joe. I had a dream that my grandma had passed away. So I wake up and I call her and I'm like, hey, you okay? But for some reason, my aunt answers, my other aunt, my mom's sister, my aunt answers the phone. And she says, what's going on, Brand? It's 3 o'clock here in LA and it was 6 o'clock in Florida. And she says, we're in the hospital. What made you call? I said, well, I had a dream that grandma passed away. She said, well, Brand, we in the hospital because she fell out of her bed last night, and she's not doing too good. Her legs, there was a clot in her legs, and when she went to go stand up to go to the bathroom, she fell down because the circulation was cut off. And I said, well, can I talk to grandma for a second? Can I talk to grandma for a little bit? She said, sure. So I get on the phone with my grandma, and the last thing my grandma says to me is, she said, baby, do me a favor. She says, I want you to get on that horse and you run his feet into the ground just for me. And those were the last words of my grandma. And so that moment, and that being my last moment with her, because a week later we got the call from the doctors that she didn't make it. Those being the last words from her became a cornerstone, a beacon, a pillar for me, because I was like, this is a part of what God has for my life. This is a part of who I am supposed to be and what I'm supposed to do. And the fact that my grandmother, who watched me from all over the years, the last thing she says to me is, "Go get on your horse and you run his feet into the ground," just for me. That was the catalyst for everything that everyone sees for me, because I was like, I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to do this.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's just amazing. And for that to live with you for the rest of your life, like, that's amazing. Going back to what you were experiencing as a child and the freedom that you didn't feel that you had, how can that relate to some of the Black and brown children around the world now that feel that same way? And how can they use horses as a avenue to experience the freedom that we all desire?
You know, for those kids, I'm grateful. I think he's on here still. Fat Pack is from Urban Saddles. I love Pack. Pack is my guy. I don't know if he stayed on this, checked in real quick, but either way it goes, he and his organization are doing things that are creating opportunities that I did not believe existed. And so I believe that the more even with what you guys are doing up there, your trail ride and things you're doing, and the awareness you're bringing to it, I will bet money, and I will put everything I ever have on it, that these horses will save someone's life or lives. But the thing is, see, it's the freedom too. I realized the best freedom was like, I would just go to the barn and I'd tie Smokey Joe off and I'd have my music playing and we would just kick it. And just his presence and his energy of "I got you" was everything, And then I started to see people who would be like, I'm afraid of horses, I'm scared of horses. And then you bring them around and you watch that presence of a particular horse, whether it's, whatever, however he's been trained or whatever, but you can watch that horse heal somebody from hurt, heal somebody from fear, heal somebody from feeling like they can't conquer, they don't have confidence. Being with a horse makes you feel like a king or a queen, period. The second you're around something like that, and it is submitting to you, and it's giving you its energy and its time and its space, you just feel invincible. So I think for kids, Black, brown, I think for kids to be able to just brush a horse, experience that, just like standing in front of a horse and walking around one and being around one, it will do something to someone on the inside.
Absolutely.
To know that God created something so powerful, but yet gave us the authority for that thing to say, I'll submit to you. I'll submit to however you want to. You got a job for me to be on a ranch? I'll do that job. You want me to be a kid's lesson horse? I'll be that kid's lesson horse. You want me to be a racehorse? I'll be that. I will allow myself to become the vehicle and purpose that you see for me. But to submit to, like, that's a God, to me, that's a God thing. And it's not about beating a horse into doing that. A lot of horses, some of the best horses, they choose it because they just want to please you. They know that being with you is the best thing for them. So I think for these kids to be those kind of trainers and riders and future rodeo stars, I think that's incredible.
Yes. Tell me some of the things that you've been working on as far as work out there in LA. What can we expect?
You know, the thing for me that I have I'm writing a Western called From the Ashes, and the Western is inspired by the Creek Nation. It's inspired by Boley, Oklahoma. It's inspired by the Great Exodus. These different things, the Trail of Tears. A lot of people don't understand that the reason we even landed in certain places like Oklahoma was because natives had slaves. Like, there were so many things that I felt like were kind of left out, that I said, well, let's take these stories from the ashes and let's bring them to light. And the people that I have in mind to play it are some men who I think have been in the industry for so long, and the fact that they haven't done a Western together blows my mind. So James Pickens Jr., Obaba Batunde, Reginald T. Dorsey, Garrett Davis, LaMonica Garrett, Denham. So taking those guys and taking some friends of mine that I believe can really bring something to the role, like Marshall, who's Long Beach Cowboy, my buddy Marcus, taking those guys, taking this project and saying, we can do something and elevate it in a way where we don't have to go the slave narrative route. These all Black towns existed and they thrived.
Absolutely.
They thrived.
Talk about it.
That's where my heart is at. Is like, let's show us in a different context where there's a banker.
Yeah.
There's someone who runs his newspaper company. There's somebody who runs a produce store. There's men who are working horses to sell those horses. There are men or families who are working cattle to sell the cattle. That we do this. We've done this. But just because it didn't make it into a book, just because it wasn't written, someone forgot about it, didn't choose to put it in there, does not mean that someone's legacy and history and heritage does not go back to that. And that was the thing for me with when I do storytelling, especially on Instagram or any medium that I use. How impactful can something that you didn't know that you now know be for your life?
Yeah.
How impactful can that be for your?
I would. Yes.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Please let us know how we can support you further on that. That's
absolutely
exactly what Black Boots Awards is about, bringing those stories to light and honoring those that are in the field now, as far as equestrianism is concerned, and all of the tradesmen and things of that nature. Okay.
Yeah.
How long have you been writing that and working on it?
Oh, a year and a half now. Well, I just finished one called Just Before Dawn. And so I wrote that one. My buddy Marlon Burke, he's starring as my villain, if you will. Marlon Burke is incredible. If you guys aren't following him, look for Marlon Burke. He's an amazing man. And he's playing opposite of my friend Marcus Mitchell, his wife Christina Vidal. And it's just it's a fun Western that I put together that tells a story that I think is going to cause the audience to think. I think people often might write off a character because they think they're the villain. They think that this person is bad because morality says, oh, this guy's a bad guy. But sometimes in life, the reality of life is no one is one thing. No one is one thing. And your hero often may not be the best person in the world. They just happen to be the hero someone chose for the story. They're the hero in someone else's story, but the villain is someone else's. Right. So that's what I like to have fun with stories, is like the duality of people look at my social media and they're like, Brandon's amazing. And I'm like, you haven't caught me at that right time in that right moment. You may not feel the same way. And I'm okay with it because I know that I'm human. I'm in process. I'm not for everybody. You know what I mean? I do things that I believe are going to add value to society. And then other people look at me and they're like, yo, he is a dick. He is an a-hole. And that's just a part of life because it's someone else's story. I don't mess with.
Okay. I love that. How long have you been writing treatments and screenplays and things like that?
2 years ago. I'll tell you how it happened. I was writing in Burbank, and I don't know if you guys have had Oba on here yet, but Oba's the man. So
Okay.
Oba rides in Burbank a lot, and I remember first time I heard his voice. I remember because I saw him in life, and I seen this in other movies or whatever. And I'm riding through a tunnel one day, and he says, "How's it going, young man? How's it going?" And I was like, there's no way that this man is on a horse. There's no way that Oba Babatunde is on a horse. And I wasn't privy to rodeo life, nothing, man. It's got buckles and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we become fast friends, and he actually helped me to creative direct the photo shoot that we did for the first Black Cowboy Week. So I got together with him. We talked about the places to shoot at, where to go, what cowboy's gonna ride, what horse, what we're gonna wear. I mean, that I give kudos and homage and like to all those guys because Oba, Reggie, James, Garrett, Ivan, Marlon, like to have that legacy there like that, and then to take the project and make it their own was amazing. So I was talking to Oba one day on a ride. We're going up the mountain, and I was talking to him about these different projects. We're talking about Yellowstone and this and that. And I was like, why don't we have like a Black Yellowstone? Like, why don't we have one? And he was like, you haven't written it yet. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, Brandon, because you haven't written it yet. The things that you're saying, why don't we have yet, is because they're for you to do and for you to write. So go get to writing, young man. And when he said that, and he is like, when I tell you that man has my heart, because one day I had an audition for something, a commercial or whatever, and he was like, and mind you, that man's resume is nuts, Broadway, everything. He says to me, Brandon, you're going to get the job. You know why? Because there's not another Brandon. You're the only Brandon there is, and no one can take that from you. What you bring to that casting opportunity, remember, it's not an audition, it's an opportunity. So change what you call it. It's not an audition, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to be yourself. And I was like, bruh, wait, what? What? Flipped the whole script game on me. And I was like, and he was like, I can't wait for you to see me on trail and say, Oba, I booked a job. I saw him like in 2 months' time, I had booked 6 jobs and told him about every audition that I had booked. And he wasn't surprised. He was like, I told you this was going to happen. I told you that if you just were yourself, you would go get all these commercials and jobs you wanted. Mm-hmm. And I was like, but we need that. That you got this, that I believe in you is everything. Everything.
How would you encourage a Black actor, writer, creative just to continue to lean into their purpose?
How would I encourage them? I'm gonna pull a Geraldine. My grandma's name is Geraldine. So what has your name on it? If God has placed your name on it, no one can take it from you. Now, the part she never added, or the caveat, the pivot is, you got to show up. Mm. You got to show up. It can have your name on it. Imagine somebody delivering an Amazon package, but you never go to the place to pick up the package. It's got your name on it. It's addressed to you. It's sitting right there. But if you never show up to pick up that package, how will you know what's on the inside? How will you know what's for you? How will you know what God sent your way to bless your life? How will you know? And that's for every writer, actor, creator, director, producer. You think because a name like a Taylor Sheridan or this or whatever, or Martin Scorsese, you think because they've done something and their story is similar to yours, that you can't go out there and make something incredible. That is a lie. See, because whatever you have to offer, they're missing what you have to, they're missing those ingredients, those things you have to offer and bring to the table when you're writing that script or you're telling that story. Garrett Davis and I were talking about this the other day. There's some things about, we believe, when it comes to writing, we believe there's certain perspectives and experiences that only you and I can write about.
Right.
Because we know them. We know the smell, we know the feeling, we know the essence of it, we know where it comes from, we know what that 6 a.m. on a Saturday feels like, or that 10 a.m. on a Sunday feels like. That someone who's trying to write about that experience is missing the nuances. They're missing the nuances. But you have those nuances, and that's what's going to set you apart, make you different. But you have to show up. You have to show up.
Yes.
So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. So continue to do what you're doing, and I want to talk to you again. I got kicked out of the barn, so my lighting changed. They were like, wrap it up, gotta go. I'm so sorry.
Oh, was it not supposed to be this long? Was it supposed to be shorter?
No, it's my fault. But you and I will talk again, and
Yes.
we are going to connect again. I will be more stationary and not get kicked out while they're closing up, because you know, at barn life, when it's dark, it's over and we're wrapping up.
That's it. Yeah.
But Brandon, you are such an amazing creative, an amazing man, and I can't wait to continue the conversation. We would love for you to come to Hartford, Connecticut, Memorial Weekend in 2024 to celebrate the Black Boots Awards, and love to continue to partner and keep the conversation open, and keep doing the amazing work on telling the story of our people, our history, and our rich legacy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Man, I can't thank you guys enough, but I think the people who make this happen, or made Black Cowboy Week happen, is like everyone who's tuned in right now. All the riding clubs and facilities that have created opportunities for people to join and ride: Urban Saddles, Compton Cowboys, Flying Crows, Oklahoma Cowboys, those guys there, the Pony Express, you know, the Black Rodeo, Bill Pickett Rodeo. See, these opportunities are a blessing and a half to have, because when someone walks into them, they get to meet us. They get to see us. They understand from the food to the music, who we are, from the saddle to the stirrup, who we are, from the conversation and the joy in our faces to the young man or the young girl, you know, doing the mutton busting or whatever. You get to meet us. That we are. We are America. We are the West. We are the cowboy that you are striving to write about in your next Western. So thank you to everybody who's participated. Thank you to everyone who's staying true to themselves, especially Pac. I love you, Pac. You're amazing, man. Guys, if you aren't following Fat Pac in Urban Saddles, what he's doing and what he is hoping to do for the community, especially in the Los Angeles area, is just phenomenal and top notch. It's elevated. So to you, amazing woman, thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate this.
Okay. We'll see you next time, because this isn't over. We only get
It's not.